With protests across the nation in the wake of grand jury decisions not to indict police officers for the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and Eric Garner in Staten Island, New York, policymakers around the country, including Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop and Newark Mayor Ros Baraka, have outlined plans for police officers to be equipped with body cameras while on duty. In a sit-down with Hudson County View, Lieutenant Bobby Kearns, president of the Jersey City Superior Officers Association, and Police Officer Carmine Disbrow, president of the Jersey City Police Officers Benevolent Association, said they would work with Fulop on body cameras, but highlighted some of the unintended consequences and details that should be discussed before implementation.
We're not necessarily opposed. We want to work with the administration on this issue. But we would like to speak, sit down and actually have an open discussion with them, because there are obviously some concerns. I mean, our police officers are not afraid to wear the cameras. We live in a world today where there's cameras everywhere you go. So that's not an issue. There's concerns over the implementation, how we go about that. And, we want to have an open dialogue with the administration, which they've said that they're willing to sit with us on. So it shouldn't be an issue. There's concerns over some privacy issues that could come up, some Oprah issues, things like that other groups are going to want to have their say about.
Yeah, basically what I was saying with the privacy concerns is, when do the cameras have to be put on? When are they not supposed to be put on? We discussed earlier, we have an instance where we respond to domestic violence incidents. It's a private matter between a husband and a wife, or a partnership. Do they want that recorded? Who's going to be able to have access to that video? Is that, like Bobby said, is that operable? People have a domestic violence issue, and you're a victim of it. Is someone down the line be able to have access to that video? That's a concern, and that's a concern for the police officers. It's a concern more for the public. What is able to be videotaped and what's not able to be videotaped.
Disbrow continued on by wondering whether officers' conversations with criminal informants, commonly known as snitches, would have to be recorded.
We also have officers that deal with confidential informants. Are they going to come forward with information if they know we're recording them? Are we going to have to record when we deal with confidential informants? That's one of the major questions I'm getting from my guys is, they're concerned, these people going to come forward now knowing that whatever information they're given is being recorded? And is anybody else going to be able to have access to that information? We had an incident, I think it's in the state of Washington, where a citizen put in an Oprah request for all of the data that was recorded by that police department. Now, in those instances I'm just talking about, are those people's private conversations with police officers going to be able to be Oprah'd, and now you're going to have maybe criminals finding out who's giving information to the police? That's a major concern for our guys, and more so for the public.
I followed up by asking if body cameras would change the way ordinary citizens interact with police officers, whether reporting information or casual conversation.
I don't think we have the concern with that. I think the public might have a concern over, is their conversation going to be recorded, and who's viewing it? I mean, we conduct ourselves at a certain level, as professionals. And again, like I had said, we're used to dealing with cameras. Everywhere we go in the public today, there's cameras everywhere. So, you conduct yourself as a professional. The citizen might, I think the citizen might have more of a concern, because he's going to wonder who's watching this conversation that I'm having with this police officer, depending on what they're talking about. If they're talking about just run-of-the-mill stuff, then obviously nobody's concerned about things like that. But sometimes people talk about things with the police that they don't want everybody else to know about. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the public is going to have a bigger concern. And like I said, there's going to be victims groups that I think are going to have a lot of questions. Victim advocate groups, like like these groups for domestic violence, certain victims of certain crimes. They're going to be concerned about what gets released, what doesn't get released. There's a lot of questions, and I'm sure the American Civil Liberties Union has some questions on this too, on what gets recorded, who gets to see it. There's going to be some groups that are definitely going to have some questions on this.
In addition, I asked whether body cameras would help bridge the distrust between police and community, especially in instances where there is no recording of events, like the case of LaVon King in Jersey City.
Well, I think even sometimes when you have a camera on, you're not going to see the entire incident from start to finish. You might see the conclusion, you might see parts of it. Even with a camera on, you're not going to see how the entire incident transpired. And I think, the rush right now for the body cameras I think is directly related to Ferguson and the other incidents that happened in the past several months. But I think we're off issue here. I think the more important thing is to talk about maybe having less lethal weapons for the police officers to use as opposed to having cameras. I don't believe body cameras would have prevented any of those deaths. I think all those deaths would have, the encounters would have ended exactly the same way, whether we had a camera on or not. I think the issue is we should be talking about maybe having less lethal weapons for the officers to use before they have to go to their firearm. And I think that's something that's being missed by the public right now.
When asked, Disbrow said pepper spray and stun guns were non-lethal weapons that police officers should be equipped with.
I think the first two that I think of is obviously pepper spray, is something you could go to before you go to your weapon, and also tasers. We don't have tasers in Jersey City. I think having a taser or having the ability to use pepper spray would prevent because right now basically the police officer you have your nightstick and you have your gun. That's your only two options. So there needs to be more options in between the nightstick and the gun, and the pepper spray and the taser is in between the nightstick and the gun as far as use of force. And right now we don't have that, and I think that's something that we need to be discussing as well.
Finally, Kearns stressed that his union was open to body cameras for officers, but that beginning with a pilot program was the best route to go.
With any new technology, too, there has to be some sort of implementation process, whereas I know there's a rush to get this because it's a very hot issue now, a very hot political issue, to get it done right away and have everybody. But I think we need to look more into doing more of a pilot program type of thing to work out the kinks, because with any technology, there's always some sort of kinks or something. The things you got to work out. The policy will have to get worked out. The procedures will have to get worked out. So why don't we work on that? And I think come on and discuss this, that we should work on that together so that we don't have problems down the road. A good analogy that the comment had used was the red light cameras. Everybody rushed into getting red light cameras, and now they're getting rid of it because of all the problems it caused. And I'm not saying, like I said, we have no problem with it because we're on camera anyway, but let's implement it correctly. Like New York is actually doing a pilot program. I think they have how many?
70 police officers.
70 police officers in one precinct trying it out. So you get a feel for how this is going to work. Because like I said, with any new technology, you have some sort of problems in the beginning until you have it fixed correctly. So that would be a way. So we're looking forward to having open dialogue with the administration on this. And the director has said that they're going to we're going to speak about this when they get to that point, because they're just not there yet. There's a process that they have to go through.
I'm Michael Shurin with Hudson County View, the eye of the community.